Today's episode has been brought to you by Schedulicity.
Hello and welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Crow. I'm a mom of 3, a yoga teacher, and a trainer and consultant who works for yoga teachers. And this podcast was created for you so that you can connect to the information and inspiration each and every week and feel supported on those tough days. And I feel like all of us maybe have needed some support either from friends, our community, our family. I hope that this podcast is one of those things that you can turn to and really feel supported as a yoga teacher. So many of you were reaching out when the pandemic first hit earlier in 2020, saying, how much do I now charge for my online yoga? A lot of you were moving your classes online and wondering how much to charge. And this question kept coming up again and again in the Facebook group. And Crunch, who is our amazing show notes writer and also article writer, took a look at that and said, you know what, that would be a great article for our yoga teachers. So I wanted to share parts of that here on the podcast, and I will make sure to link to the full article. So the moment you're wondering, how much should I charge for my yoga class? Please come back to this article. It's not only for online yoga, but yoga in general. And that's exactly where the question begins. So when people ask me, how much do I charge for my online yoga? I ask them, I just turn it right around and say, how much are you charging for in-person yoga? I personally think it needs to be the same. And you might think, well, I don't have to travel. I don't have to rent the studio. No. But now you are sending out more emails and Zoom links and paying for different technology and possibly editing your videos and maybe even looking at how to get them up on some type of membership site. So yes, it is different, and there are many parts of this that are still the same. We have some other great podcast episodes that really dig into money mindset. So I'll make sure that we link to those in the show notes for you. So if you're feeling like you need a bit of a pep talk around money, go back and have a listen to some of those episodes for sure. And before we dig in a little bit further, I also want to give a huge shout out of thank you to our sponsor, Schedulicity, and talk about how setting up an account on something like Schedulicity really holds you to, like, what is the purpose of your business? Right away, when you go to put an offering in, it's asking you for the title of that offering. So maybe it's like restorative yoga, and then the description where you're really talking about what it is that you offer and the price. And then you have so many options with Schedulicity. You can choose, does someone need to pay ahead of time? Do they hold that spot with a credit card? Do they not need to pay ahead of time? And these are the questions I want you to be asking yourself because you are running a business. So I've told some of you before on the podcast that I used to run a farmer's market for 5 years. And if you came up to my table and you said, Shannon, how much is this bag of lettuce? I wouldn't waver. I would just tell you how much the lettuce was. And I knew that we had put tons of work and effort into growing that lettuce. And that is what you have done with your yoga business. And I want you to charge enough for your yoga classes. Okay, so let's hear our hot tip of the week from the team over at Schedulicity.
Hello, Connected Yoga Teachers. This is Michaela with the Schedulicity Hot Tip of the Week. Schedulicity is an amazing accounting tool. Your dashboard shows your weekly estimated revenue, the number of bookings you have, and the average revenue per booking. Enabling the payment add-on makes things even easier. Once you're connected to Stripe or Square, all your transactions will be listed on your payment screen, and you can select a date range, search by tender type or confirmation number, and export that information to an Excel document. With your schedule and your money this organized, you might have time to tackle something even tougher, like that weird junk drawer or your kid's closet.
Thank you so much, Team Schedulicity. Alrighty, so let's dig into how you actually choose a price to charge for your yoga classes. A lot of yoga teachers, fresh out of a yoga teacher training, they might think, you know what, maybe I'll charge $5 or $10 a class, and maybe then I'll see more people come to my yoga classes. A lot of the time, though, perceived value is a big factor in this. So there was this study done with a couple different bottles of wine. One had a really high price tag on it, one had a lower price tag on it, and they were actually both the same wine. And people who drank the one that had a higher price tag on it said it was so much better. So I want you to keep that in mind, that there is this perceived value. Would you rather get your car painted by someone who charged $3 or $50? I'm not saying just let's go out there in business and just absolutely soak our yoga students and get as much money as possible. That's not it. Take a look around at the businesses in your area that are offering things like physiotherapy, massage therapy, maybe talk therapy, and look at what's the general price that those are costing people. A massage therapist that comes right out of school doesn't lower their price and then start there because they're out of school. You have a lot of value to bring to a yoga class, even if you're a new teacher. And I want to touch on this word value. This is not your value. This is the value that you bring to a yoga student. They could go for an hour-long massage and come into that relaxation state. Or maybe they then sign up for your yoga class for that relaxation state. There's one part in Crunch's article where she talks about the hidden costs of teaching yoga. And I love this title. I really wanted to make sure that I shared it here today. So let's come back to that amount if we decided, which I don't want any of you to do, that we're charging $5 per person for a class. And we think, okay, well, I just need 10 students to make $50 an hour. This is not actually the time that goes into that class. Yes, you'd make $50 in an hour, but we're not considering, all of the time of travel or setup or emails or the accounting that you need to do to keep your business running. 1 hour in front of your students is not the same as an hourly wage job. This is not just 1 hour of your time. Also, consider all of the training that you have done and all of the planning that goes into a class. I was talking to a yoga teacher this week who is teaching a bigger class for a church group, and I know that she's put tons of planning time in and is thinking about it for weeks. So think about your travel, the rental fee that you maybe pay, your Zoom if you're online. How much is it costing you to market and get the word out there about your classes? Maybe you sign up for a health fair or you're part of something and you're investing time to market your yoga. What about your props, your tools that run your yoga business, your accounting fees? Think of all of the fees, and we have another article coming out soon where it goes through and lists all of the things that are fees, expenses that you can claim in your yoga business. So these are definitely things to consider as well as you are setting that price for that yoga class. We talked about this way back in episode 11 with Tracy Eccleston. And so if you feel like you want to hear another, like I said, pep talk about money, there are times in my business still where I need to re-look at my money mindset and find people who are having conversations about money for me to have a listen to, because our money stuff is really, so weaved into just our belief system and how we were raised, and sometimes it needs to be challenged. Speaking of being challenged, I feel like as an entrepreneur, I was an entrepreneur in different spots in my life, and it wasn't until I became a yoga teacher / business owner where I really felt challenged in my money mindset. So we know we're all trained in the philosophy of yoga, and it might feel like it goes against that aparigraha, that non-attachment, that non-greed yama. And we might even question, like, should I be making money off of something that is this spiritual practice? And I think that this is a really important question to ask ourselves. I also want to note that I've grown up in a very capitalist society. So I could use some different viewpoints If you have that, I would love to hear about it. Like if you think, actually, Shannon, I want you to consider this side of things of making money and teaching yoga. For me, I know that when yoga teachers are the ones who are making money, they give back to their community in so many ways, not just with their time, but also by donations. And I just saw this yoga teacher this week. I shared it on my Instagram where once a month, this yoga teacher, shout out to Laura if you're listening, because Laura is showing up and teaching one class a month and donating all of that to charity. And so I get super excited to think, I want yoga teachers to stay in business. I know that they're doing amazing things out in the world. And in order to stay in business, yoga teachers need to make enough money. I know that we have a lot of yoga teachers who either do this work as a hobby, as a charity, as a second or third job sometimes. And I know that I talk with a lot of yoga teachers who want teaching yoga to become their primary income. And I think we really need to consider, okay, how can I look at this just like I would, Shannon's selling lettuce at the farmer's market. I'm selling a yoga class. There is a ton of value in that for your yoga students. So you have every right to show up, stand there with confidence, and announce your prices. And I just want to say on that note, I remember what it was like to waver on my prices as a yoga teacher. So you are not alone in this struggle. I think it's a challenge that a lot of yoga teachers face. I would love to hear from you if there's some way that you worked on this challenge in your own business, or if you're experiencing it right now. If you want, we can continue the conversation over in the Connected Yoga Teacher Facebook group. If you're not already a member in there, come on over and find us. There are amazing conversations happening every day in there. Let's come back to that $5 yoga class example again. What impact does that have in your community? Let's say you're a teacher, you've been teaching for 10 years. Maybe your drop-in rate is $18 to $20, or your one-on-one rate with people is $100 or $120. And a teacher moves in down the street from you and starts charging $5 a class. On one hand, I really think that this can impact the entire yoga industry. If everyone started charging $5 a yoga class, I would be very worried. I just feel like this isn't a sustainable income, and it undervalues what yoga really is. On the other hand, remember back to that story that I told about the 2 bottles of wine? Do not worry if that yoga teacher moving in down the road starts charging $5. Focus on your niche, your value that you are offering people, and your own marketing. Eyes on your own page. Do not lower your rates. And also don't scold this person. They're working through their own money stuff. And come back to how you feel as a consumer. Crunch put in the article, are you more likely to hire an electrician who charges $20 to rewire your home, or someone who charges $100? Would you bring your child to a pediatrician who charges $15 for a consultation, or to one who charges $95? What level of service do you expect from a web designer who costs $10 versus someone who costs $80 an hour? This is so important for us to flip it around and see what does it feel like as the person who's receiving those services. Personally, I want yoga teachers to be viewed as professionals out there. I want to be able to say to someone, oh, you're dealing with trauma or anxiety, go meet with Diane Liska. She's an amazing psychotherapist who does this yoga-informed type of work. Or, oh, you're having urinary incontinence. I know an amazing pelvic health PT in our area who would be great for you to go and see. And I want you to be that in your community. Maybe you're the yoga teacher who PTs refer to because that's a yoga class that is great for people who have just had knee surgery, or great for people who are dealing with chronic pain, or great for people who have urinary incontinence. See how you can specialize and stand out. So in summary, take into consideration all of the factors that are part of this pricing. Your time, your training before, the effort, like the planning that goes into creating this, your experience and your expertise, how you've specialized, how you've probably taken continuing education, and so much more. And I love that Crunch also clarified, look at these 3 things. Look at what are you comfortable charging? 2, what allows you to sustain yourself and your business? And if you feel like you really want to live your yoga in this, what does it feel like to generate enough income to sustain you, to put some aside for your retirement savings, and then to donate and to give? That's where I want to see our yoga teachers at. And number 3, what is the amount that reflects the value you are creating for your students? And if you're still really stuck, there is an amazing thread of conversation about this. Thank you so much, Laura, for posting this a while back in the Connected Yoga Teacher group. Lots of people pitched in and shared what they're charging for one-on-one classes. And this is a great place to start. So that would be what I would leave you with. What would you charge for a one-on-one session? And I think that's your hourly rate. And maybe it's more for a group class. Maybe you do a really boutique style. Maybe you're printing something out for your students. Maybe you're putting in tons of effort. So do not feel limited by the price that you see other teachers sharing. Really dig into what is this worth for your yoga students and all of these factors. Also with pricing, one more note, please remember to increase your rates. The price of bread goes up. The price of gas goes up. Minimum wage goes up around the world. I have contract workers who increase their rates, and I want you to remember to increase your price. Okay, I did say one last note, but here's one more. And this is maybe even one that I'm working on right now. It is very tempting to take a look around and see people losing their jobs, living through a pandemic and struggling, and to think, those are my people. I need to lower my rates. Please do not jump to doing that. Make the money from the people who can afford this right now. There are people who work for Zoom and people who work at Amazon and big companies that are generating a lot of money right now. And those people can afford to sign up for your yoga classes. Then turn around and see what you can give to the people in your community that can't show up for classes. Maybe you donate your time. Maybe you do like Laura from Instagram, donating profit from one class a month or something like that. We can do this, Connected Yoga Teachers. You are designing your own business. You can really create it the way you want to and in a way that feels very aligned with like a positive money mindset and also a positive way to give back to the world. I know you can. So return to this podcast anytime you need to hear what to charge for anything. This doesn't just go for yoga classes. This is like, how do I price that training or that workshop or that event that I'm doing or that retreat? Oh my gosh, invite me to your retreats when we can travel again, please. Never have I ever felt the need to like get on an airplane, travel to somewhere, hug people, eat with people. That is what I'm craving, but I'm also waiting. Because as I'm recording this live, we are going into a brand new lockdown 2.0 in Ontario, and I'm staying put because I can, because I have that privilege, and because I can care for other people by doing that. And I can hit record and we can hang out together, whether you're also in lockdown or out in a place. Please tell me about those places where you can just do whatever you want and go wherever you want without any fear of spreading the virus. And if you're listening to this well into the future, we're living in a pandemic. I feel like I don't have to explain that. Okay, Connected Yoga Teachers, I want to sign off and say thank you for showing up here and deciding to dig into this money conversation. I'm also really excited because the next couple of episodes are so helpful if you are teaching online yoga and growing your yoga business. Thank you, Suzanne, Crunch, Nick, and Sinead for all of the work that you do for our community. And I want to know, Connected Yoga Teachers, what will you be doing this week to stay connected to yourself, your yoga practice, and to your community so that you can share the yoga that lights you up.